Hi there, and welcome back to the FFS podcast. I'm your host, Praddy, once again, and welcome to the fourth episode or fifth episode. I don't know how many we've done here, but welcome to the FFS podcast Women's Euro final review. And we've started a month ago with the preview of how this tournament would go, and by the tournament I mean the Women's Euro 2020, which is this summer's biggest tournament, biggest footballing tournament in the world, and we are done. It ended a few days ago already. It seemed like only yesterday that we sat down here and gave our predictions and talked about each team, and within a matter of a couple of weeks, we already have a winner, and that is none other than England. Who would have thought, right? England winning an international tournament. It had to be the women's team that actually made it because the men's team were definitely not going to. So I'm glad the women took the initiative this time around and you know brought it back home, as they say back in England. So, joining me on today's podcast, we've got a returning guest, a recurring guest for not only this podcast but our previous podcast as well. She is a huge women's fan, women's football fan, and that is none other than Unnati. So, Unnati, welcome back to the podcast. How's it going?
Thanks for having me, firstly. And yeah, I mean, the game was nice, obviously. I think
Yeah.
I was really excited for the game, and I think it's lived up to every single expectation that we had from the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, did like obviously we had hyped up this final to be insane given that it was a home team playing against probably the two best teams in the tournament overall. Of course, that's why they made it to the final, but even on even on paper as well, I mean, I think they were the two strongest sides, whether it be in depth and everything else. So they made it to, and we hyped it up quite a bit. And yeah, I think I agree with you as well that it kind of did live up to its hype. The first few minutes were definitely cagey, and we'll come to that in a little while later. But yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts as to going into this game. What were the preparations for you like? Like, how excited were you, and like, how did you watch the final?
Yeah, obviously, going into the game, like you and I, along with Nat, we'd already discussed, how huge of an event this game, really is because obviously England in a final, European final all over again, it gave a lot of flashbacks to every English person, because obviously uh, you know back again from the men's Euros, there was that whole idea of, okay, what if the same thing happens again. Like they obviously didn't want to lose the finals again. But yeah, obviously, there was a lot of hype, and the build up was great, some really good promotion. And obviously, I think this was something that obviously we had not talked about, but everyone was, for the first time, I saw people just scrambling about for tickets to the final. And it was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it was just pretty insane to see that, even though obviously, just like how we have in the men's game, we saw some people, try to sell off these tickets for like thousands of pounds on eBay and stuff,
yeah,
which did happen. But most importantly, what made me happy was the fact that, people wanted the tickets, okay, but
yeah.
obviously there
Exactly.
are, yeah, but there are always two sides to every story. Like, like people who genuinely wanted to go because, they fell in love with the game, are very different as compared to, just getting on board with the bandwagon and everything, which is obviously.
I agree with you on a certain extent, but I feel like tournaments like this will. I know the people who just jump on the bandwagon saying, "Okay, this is England, so let's just go because it's England," all that. But games like this do convert people bring in newcomers into the sport,
Oh yeah,
into
yeah.
women's football as well.
Obviously,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I
but
agree with you.
I
And
agree more with the fact that, like, the fact that there was a lot of demand, and the fact that people were, you know, wanting to purchase those tickets even at ridiculous prices. It's a great sign, and it's not something that happens only in the men's game. It happens in any sport where, people will buy tickets and then flog them off for thrice the price in the gray market and black market. It's not unique to football. It's not unique to the men's game and all that. But the fact that if they are being sold, which is, I mean, horrifying that people are paying that much for a game when they shouldn't really have to. But on the other hand, it's nice to see that actually, they thought that it's worth paying that much to go watch a final, and that to women's football Euro final.
yeah, I mean, obviously, to see that happen, I was really happy, when I saw that, so many people wanted the tickets. And to a point where, obviously, we so, like, the game sold out way in advance, and obviously there have been
Yeah.
like some releases over time, when it comes to these tickets. But still, overall, it was never really widely available. So obviously, I think in that sense we've moved in a in the right direction for this game. So going in, everyone, like, I had, some of my co-workers who were at the stadium, and
Oh,
they
nice.
were,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So I had a co-worker who was, shooting the game, and then on the sidelines. And then I had some people, who went in as, media and everything. So all of them just went into the game with the mindset, okay, we are going to be surrounded by 90,000 people approximately. Like,
Yeah.
no, like, under no circumstance, could you have ever thought that, okay, you're going to be at Wembley, around, like, surrounded by these many people, collectively come together to watch a women's game. Because obviously, now it doesn't feel, obviously it's a huge thing, even though it's
Yeah.
not, what do you say, we've seen, like, two games in the past, crossing the number and everything. So it's like, okay, it's happening for the third time, but it's still such a big deal, because to have something like this on an international platform is huge. So
Yeah.
you know
It, it it is a big deal, which we hope it shouldn't be a big deal, because this should be kind of the norm going forward, that you have these big crowds at games as well. And it's something that, Leah brought up at the end. It's something that Alex Scott brought up during pre-match,
Yeah, I
about
mean,
how
we say this, that it's special, and a great deal and everything, but in reality this is something very normal, in in a very different circumstance. So this
though
was like
technically it's not normal to have 87,000 people, because it did break the record for even men's Euro finals. So uh, the stadium helped a bit, but still, to have that crowd, insane. And given that, I mean, the men's final was played in Wembley as well in 2020, 21, sorry. So to break that record, it's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, I
and
mean, with
and
with the men's game, it kind of, like, UEFA has allocation issues, which I don't want to bring up, but yeah, but to see 87,000 on that screen there, and you said close to 90,000, without a hint of jealousy that you could have been there or whatever. But yeah, it was really, really cool to see
I
all of that.
I had a major FOMO on Sunday,
Yeah.
like I I kept, like, I didn't want to mention this at all, and I did not mention it to even a single coworker or a friend of mine who was at the game, because I knew, like, so many people, like, almost pretty much everyone I knew, like all my friends were at the game, in some way or another, either as media, either as a photographer, or as a fan, like, everyone was there. And I felt I was having major FOMO, and I was like, I wanted to be there so bad.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had a bad experience at home, because
Hmm.
obviously you could hear the crowd,
Yeah.
on the stream as well. So I think even at home the experience was really enjoyable. You could almost feel like you were there,
Yeah.
given
um
the circumstances.
yeah, I know it's all about recreating that atmosphere. Another, before we move on to the game itself, another point I wanted to mention when we talk about the tickets as well. Final tickets is like, when you buy final tickets, people kind of go in with the notion that, okay, my team may not make it to the final, so they don't purchase it earlier, and then there's a scramble at the end when your team actually makes it. So that also adds to the fact. So, like, if, for example, the men's World Cup, right? I wouldn't buy the final ticket because I'm like, there's a very negligible chance that Spain would make it to the final. So I wouldn't necessarily buy a final ticket. But if they do make it to the final, then you'll see me trying to find any sort of get the to the stadium. I still won't because the tickets are insane. But the women's was so much more, affordable, which is
I
brilliant.
feel like even like like you mentioned this point about if your team is not making it to the finals, you don't know whether they would, and you would obviously try to get the tickets later on. I feel like even then there was only a small margin where the number of tickets that were left, because if way before the finals, and I'm talking even before the tournament even started, like when the tickets were released, irrespective of who was going to be
Yeah,
the one playing, people snatched up the tickets because people wanted to just go and see the final. And I feel like that was something which is I know that many of them might have sold the tickets off, not gone
yeah,
in the end,
yeah.
whatever, vice versa,
No,
whatever.
but still, yeah,
But I feel like even out of say 90,000 tickets that were sold, there would be maybe a margin of 20,000 who would have done something like that. But still, there was a good number of people who actually ended up going to the game, like irrespective of who was playing. So I feel like in that way, women's football is a little different. So I was very happy with the progress that we've made with the tournament.
yeah. No, definitely. It was nice to see the crowd there. The atmosphere was insane, electric. Of course, 100% we're all wearing white jerseys. Even if we didn't know, I only saw like a few people actually. I could only notice the German fans when they were actually, waving the Germany flag,
There was a
and
separate
I was like,
section
okay,
in the stadium
yeah,
for them,
of course,
so
yeah,
the German fans were seated there,
yeah.
obviously.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to mix up with the English final when you're battling it out. Believe me, it is. Uh, I don't know about women's football. Women's football, you might still survive a bit. I
Oh
wouldn't say
yeah,
a lot because
obviously.
once alcohol is also introduced, then the variables change. But probably a little better. But if it's the men's game, yeah, you do need to sit them uh, way far away from the English crowd.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I'm saying that from
like you.
experience.
Yeah, go on, go on.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that from experience. Not only being at the stadium, but also like at university when I was studying there, and then the World Cup was at the same time, and England were doing well,
I
and then whoever, yeah, it was just chaotic. But
I
yeah, go on.
remember I remember you mentioning in this in one
Yeah,
of the earlier podcasts, and we
but
were all like hilariously laughing at it.
yes, it's sad,
No, I
but
mean,
no, we laughed at it, but yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, I agree with you. But this was one of the points actually when I was on Twitter. I saw like a lot of tweets about it saying that that irrespective of whether it be like it being whether it is like the English fans or whatever, this time around at the games you didn't see much of like the stampede kind of situation, drunk
the
people
hooliganism.
around, or yeah, the typical things that you would see if it would have been the men's game, that was
Yep,
certainly
yep,
avoided. So this was a conversation that I was having with my coworkers as well. It was like the children and women were safe, you know,
safe.
uh,
Yeah,
especially after the game. So you know, I feel like to some extent I was very happy that the atmosphere was genuinely enjoyable even post after the game got done, because I feel like that was one of the aspects people just tend to forget most times, that
Yeah,
people need to
there
get home
wasn't any
safe.
chanting. There wasn't any unsavory chants also going around because
Hmm.
the men's game. They love a chant and it can be as derogatory as they like. Here it was quite
Yeah,
like you
or
said.
there
It
was
was quite a
like there,
sanitary.
yeah, it was a safe environment, and at the same time, there was no booing during the
Yeah.
national anthems and everything, because
Well, I mean
I feel like
that kind of is more that depends on the crowd rather than all English fans because I think to do that because of
I'm not
politics
getting
and all
into
that.
that.
So yeah, let's not get into that. But yeah, I guess yeah, it was nice to see that it was just a safe, clean atmosphere
Mhm.
out there, and everyone was safe.
like
So
I'll
we,
tell you, like a healthy conversations, or a healthy
hmm,
you know whatever, I can't get the word in my head right now, but any sort of healthy rivalry is always a good thing, because obviously what's football without any sort of
yeah, you
rivalry,
need banter. You need the
yeah,
banter.
exactly,
You need
that's
as
the
long
word,
as
yeah.
yeah, yeah, as long as you keep it to a limit. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
It's all fine. All right, so let's talk about the game because the first half was, in one word, if I were to describe it, just chaos. I just didn't know what was happening. It was just whistle after whistle after whistle. Players pushing each other off the ball, a shot here or there, but all in all, it kind of defined a final because neither team really could get themselves established because they were frantically moving here and there, each one losing the ball in the midfield. I think the majority of the game was probably that at that point played in midfield, maybe slightly to in the defense in each other's penalty boxes, but um, it was just a matter of like, can someone just keep the ball, like hold it and pass it to the next person next to you or do something just simple. And I don't know whether it was the occasion. I don't know. You tell me whether you think it was the occasion. It was the for these players as well to walk out and see 87,000 people chanting and this. It's unheard of. Not only I mean it's unheard of even in the men's game. So imagine for the women's game to have that sort of crowd there and for especially a team like England where 90% of them are your supporters, there will be a slight, you know, knot in the stomachs of each player. You know, they want to at least get off the blocks well, and for the other team, it's sort of disruption and trying to make sure that doesn't happen. Try to disrupt the crowd, and I just want to know your thoughts on what you made of that first 45 minutes.
I think we'll get to the part where my dad says a few things later on. Yeah, I to to be very honest, I feel like this is exactly the kind of game I expected from both these teams. Because Germany is a very physical team, and they've always shown that, even in the previous games that they've played, and in general their players are a lot more physical as well. So you
Yeah,
know I expected them to go on and push the players, push the English players, and see where they can go on and about with, and disrupting their game, because obviously they didn't want the English to have a set rhythm, because the we've seen in the past games that Germany does not really need possession in order to hurt any of the teams, because they did that against Spain, where they hardly had any possession, but they still won the game. So we knew that Germany does not require as much possession, and England is someone who kind of likes to keep the ball with them, even though they are not as possession hungry, but they still like to keep the ball with them. So it's kind of like the rhythm that they've set in the beginning is how the game would progress for England. So obviously Germany was trying to do that by disrupting the rhythm, and going on and about with the fouls and everything. you know so I feel like the game started exactly how I expected it to. However, it obviously we'll get to the refereeing later on. But there were some unexpected calls, I would think, that were made. I don't blame the referee per se, but I feel like, obviously, some decisions could have obviously been a lot better. So in that
Yeah.
perspective, I think the first half was just really entertaining, because that is, like you said, what you expect from a finals, and that is where they delivered. And not that the
Yeah.
English team does not have, physical players, because,
Physical.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
when we did the previous podcast, the episode, we discussed that, the midfield is going to be where everything is going to be played. And that's exactly what happened. It was a battle of the midfield. All the players in the midfield were like hilariously, you
Yeah.
know, physical, and it was really nice to watch. I feel like it reminds me of that tweet that Sophie Lawson, put up, where she said that, I'm thinking about the one man who kept saying that, women's football is such a safe space where, nobody hurts each other, or, I have that
Yeah.
specific tweet, bookmarked, and I'll read it out in a bit. But, it just, I read that tweet and I just cracked up laughing, because, this game, like, proved everything of how everyone views women's football. And this, I'm overall, in the first half was just nothing short of entertaining, to say the
Yeah,
least.
definitely. It was quite entertaining, and yeah, talking about physicality, like I saw people like, I mean, I, I was watching was watching the game, and someone like Elena Oberdorf, right? She's so diminutive, but like the fact that she's been able to push people off and like so physical, I was like, whoa, you would definitely not expect that. And it was not only her, but I just felt like seeing her, I was like, I would definitely expected that. But at the same time, yeah, I kind of do expect it as well, and it totally made sense. With regards to the refereeing, like it was a bit annoying to hear her whistle every 2 seconds, but that's what the game was. You can't
I feel like she was
some of these pushes.
inconsistent. I feel like she
Yeah,
was inconsistent a little bit. That's my
she
only
was.
complaint.
No, she was a bit. I think a few of them were definitely not fouls, or some of them were more yellow cards than the others were. But just to hear, I mean, every 2 seconds the whistle would go off, and I'm like, in a way, it was irritating because it kept stopping the play. But that's exactly what Germany wanted, right? To stop play as much as possible, so that you know, first of all, you give yourself some time to recoup, and on the other hand, you disrupt England's style of play and you halt their progression forward. And while it was irritating, it was also fascinating to see the two styles of play clashing on the pitch. Um,
I
and
just
yeah, I
have,
mean, of course,
sorry, I'm
yeah,
interrupting
yeah.
you, but I have Sophie
No,
Lawson's tweet, and I
okay,
want to
yeah,
read
go ahead.
that. She said, "Wonder what the gosh, women's football is so clean and pure when you never see unnecessarily heavy challenges or diving in it. Crowd are thinking of this one."
Yeah, yeah,
Like every single
yeah,
person
no,
who said
yeah.
that, just, yeah.
It's yeah. Everyone who said that, or anyone who's, yeah, I just don't pay attention to those people anyway. But there was someone who I'll tell you, retweeted or quote tweeted that as well. Someone talking about how um I don't know. I'll check that out later, but or you can check it out on my. It'll obviously be there on my Twitter profile, so you can check that out. All right, all right. So let's talk about. Of course, the thing that we missed earlier on was Alexandra Pop not being fit, or she, had a last minute uh, fitness issue, and wasn't able to start the final, which is because I felt the final needed someone like her. I think
Can
Germany
I can
definitely
I
needed
can I
someone.
just say before the English fans just come at me?
Yeah,
The English have been ridiculously lucky.
like yeah. I think every time we said, "Oh, this team is the one that's got like depth and they've got the right players," and then the next minute it's like everyone's out, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I think we said that for Sweden also, and then if someone got like got sick or fell ill, and you're like, okay, they
I mean, the
they
entire
Swedish team,
Swedish team almost like, almost all of them were sick because of COVID.
yeah,
Spain did not have Alexia. They did not have Jenny
yeah,
Hermoso. So, it's just blowing my mind. Obviously, Spain is a very different entity. I won't get into
yeah,
it, but
yeah.
but
No,
the
I
fact that
get it, but
Norway didn't
yeah,
show up either. They had a very
yeah.
miraculous win. I wouldn't say miraculous, but they were lucky
No,
in
they're
terms of winning against Austria.
yeah,
And then
okay,
obviously Northern Ireland was just Northern Ireland. They
yeah.
performed really well, in the beginning as well. So obviously I feel like, England was just ridiculously lucky, and I feel like this time it was like, everything, the universe set
Written in
them
the
up for
stars.
victory.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think yeah, you do need the rub of the luck or rub of the green as well when it comes to tournaments like this. They tried it in the World Cup in 2018 with the men's. They had the easier draw, of until the semi-finals. So it was an easy draw. Of course, Spain is tough, Sweden's tough, Norway are tough, are all good teams. But of course, they were very good as well. I'm not taking any
Oh
credit.
no,
I mean, credit to
absolutely
England.
not.
They
But I
were
feel I
fantastic. But
yeah,
yeah,
but I
they
feel like,
of course
they
had
were
slight rub of the
ridiculously.
green.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about the goals that happened. Of course, it the moment Tooney scored that goal, and that was after uh, Ellen got Ellen White, right? Am I saying that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Ellen White. Yeah, I don't know why I
Yeah.
just got confused. So Ellen White got taken out, and my mind just went back to our conversation about England without Ellen White, and oh my God, there was so much more. I think ruthless with the ball in the attacking front once those two came on, Russo and Tooney, and I, yeah, Kirby kind of also struggled a bit with that game physically as well, trying to. I mean, of course, at that point of time, both teams were trying to were clashing in midfield, but it wasn't an easy time for either Ellen White or Frank Kirby. And not to say that they had regular service and they were doing as much, but I just felt with Tooney and Russo there, England were flowing much more easier, and that happened actually again. I wouldn't say against the run of play, but it kind of happened when Germany had started the second half much better. I think they were much more attacking. They showed a lot more. Uh, I'm forgetting the word here. Initiative to go and
Yeah.
score the first goal, and then the changes happen and that. But I want to get your thoughts on that first goal by Tooney. I mean, it's crazy.
I feel like, I remember you asking us about this, if we would prefer Alessia
Yeah,
Russo instead of Ellen White. And I told you exactly that, as much as I would prefer Russo to start, I feel like she brings on that element, uh, you know, of uncertainty, really, where she just comes in and that now the game is going to change. And I feel like Serena Wiegmann did exactly that. And the fact that she knew somehow that bringing these two players on after halftime, preserving their energy for the second
yeah,
half, because obviously she expected, obviously, the Germans to be explosive in the first half and then run a little bit out of energy. I feel like that's what her thought process probably was, because she's consistently started the same lineup. So it made sense for her to do the same thing again right now as well. And I feel like it worked very well on her part, because she, the way she decided and she planned it, it's exactly how it went on. So to have fresh legs on, especially against a little tired German squad, was a pretty good idea. I mean,
it
to
was.
have
Yeah.
them on, and then obviously, like last time also I've said it, Kiara Walsh is that silent person
Oh,
in the
what a
midfield.
pass! Oh my
My
God, I
God.
I was waiting for the referee to uh, lift the offside, the flag for offside. because I was like, there's no way she's picked her up, out from so far out, and that she's free, so free over there. And I'm like, okay, he's gonna probably let her maybe lift up the flag. And after she scored that and the flag didn't go, I was like, okay. I mean, that was first of all out of nowhere. That even I didn't see that pass, and I'm watching on TV, and to see that from that far out, it was a thing of beauty, really.
Yeah, so to see all of that combine. Obviously my dad had a lot of thoughts on that, but my dad
Yeah, we're
was like
still
a
here waiting to
constant.
hear. Yeah.
Yeah, like my dad was constantly like commentating throughout the entire game, like I had tweeted. And my he had some really unhinged thoughts, and I was like, Dad, can you just calm down? And
Oh,
you know I honestly I enjoyed the game more because of him, because
nice.
this is something I would have definitely missed had I been at the stadium. So, but obviously, getting back to the game, Kiara Walsh, being that silent thing of beauty, just doing her job, how just the way she does, and just give putting up these incredible passes and everything. And then obviously Tooney's finish was just insane.
Yeah. Oh my god, that chip is perfect. I wouldn't say near perfect. It was perfect.
It was
So
perfect, yeah.
it was
I
crazy.
feel like that goal was just insane, and it set up
Yeah.
the tone of the game, because obviously then
Yeah.
you had Magul coming in, and obviously
Oh
there was
yeah.
another. I see. I will rave by Lena Magul. She's absolutely one of my favorite German players, and I will rave by that woman with the way she takes
I
those
think
free kicks.
Mago
And
should have had a hat trick had it not been for Mary Ups.
yeah, had it not been for Mary Ups and the crossbar, because the
Yeah.
second
Okay.
shot of hers did hit the crossbar, so she
But I
she
thought it was, didn't Mary push into the crossbar? Or
no,
no.
it
No, no,
hit
no,
the
no, no, no,
crossbar.
no. It went off the crossbar.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah. No.
feel like had it not been that it would have really just, I'm telling you, I rave by that woman.
Yeah, the German goal, Germany's goal rather, was again similar. It came out not out of, yeah, it came out of nowhere. It came against the run of play
Nowhere.
because England at that point after Tooney's goal was actually threatening to score a couple of more and taking advantage of Germany's sort of lethargy or tiredness, and then you have this goal and suddenly like, okay, game on, because everyone, I thought fine, 1-0 England will take it, sit back, or just try and score a second goal or something. At that point they definitely had the upper hand, and then like that, it just in a flash, and it wasn't even like, you thought Leia probably had it covered there, and in just like a second the ball gets crossed, and then next moment it's in the back of the net. And yeah,
Thing
it
of
was,
beauty.
yeah,
Her
I think
finish, her
they
finish was just incredible.
yeah, I of course we kind of did forget about the first. I think the first half had that penalty shout where, if you go by the books, it is actually a penalty for Germany. I actually, so the thing was with handball rules is that there's a lot of changes, so constant change. So I think Kate on Twitter, she mentioned that it's a clear penalty, and I'm like, not really, because in that kerfuffle, on that sort of chaos, arms are flailing about, you're trying to balance yourself and everything, and then it could accidentally hit your hand. And a year ago that wouldn't have actually been in the books. It was, or at least in Premier League books, that was not a handball. If it's accident or if it was really close, the proximity would have been checked. But now it's a clear handball, accident or not. If it hits your arm, it's out. So yeah, I do agree, VAR should have probably given it. Not sure why.
I think
um,
there was a video that was put out, I think, by someone from UEFA. I'm not sure exact. It was a TikTok video, so obviously we don't have TikTok here in India. Uh,
Oh
But
yeah,
I
correct. Yeah.
yeah, someone did end up uploading a video on TikTok, and it was explained why they did not give it away as a handball, because obviously they didn't have another angle really, where it showed that the ball was hitting the
Clear.
arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
and the funny part about it is that, and I didn't want to get into it because obviously that would have made me like, okay, I'm saying this because I was a German supporter for the game and blah blah blah. No, I'm saying this like genuinely because my dad was pissed, okay, and I told you what he was saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You told me. Yeah, I can't say it on here, but yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It was sort
so
of
it's
true.
so when I saw, so there were two images that I saw on the internet, okay, where one was from which is the angle that we all saw, which even the German national team ended up posting, and there was another angle where you can see literally from the front, that it hit Leah's arm. So my thought process at that time was like, hello, this is a penalty at the end of the day. But
Yeah. If we
like I
have
said,
access to those if we have access to those photos, I'm pretty sure VAR has it. And yeah,
yeah,
but
obviously VAR has it, and then yeah, that's why I keep saying England was lucky, miraculously lucky,
yeah. All
because
right.
yeah, like sorry, I'm saying this again, and I know a lot of English fans are just gonna be like, okay, she's coming off with the English hate and shit, because there was something similar in the Spanish game as well. But yeah, I know, like, if you know what I'm talking about, and you know
Yeah.
which goal I'm talking about as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Okay.
whatever, England won, they got it home, fine, I'll give you away that.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, so we were at 1-1, and of course, back and forth, a lot of chances. I think, yeah, I
Mary
don't
Ops
even
and the
remember
crossbar.
Mary Ups and the crossbar. I think, who was that? Somebody else. Pretty sure in all my excitedness, it'll all be on my Twitter feed, but I think I said, oh my gosh, he should have scored like 1 million times. So it's I'm trying to find that tweet right now, but yeah, it
So
was
am I.
crazy. I think the number of sorry.
I'm actually I'm trying to see who you've okay. Shall I just talk about, like, very quickly about that funny moment of when oh my god, when Lena Latwine came in with that note.
Hmm.
Oh
Oh
my god.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I,
Oh my
I
god! And
was
then everybody, every English player went and was like reading it, and I'm like, hello,
I was
close it.
like, excuse me. No, I was like, do you really think that they're going to be writing that for you to read it in English? Like, really?
No, but even then, even if I don't know what's written, but you don't take that chance. Say, for example, someone's learned German, I don't know, A level or whatever, but you just don't. I mean, the fact that they were openly reading it, and Alessia is like standing there reading it along with her. I'm like, close it, throw it, do something. You're like,
Oh my
and there
god.
was still time to score. It wasn't like it was the last 5 minutes or something. So I
Yeah.
just don't know. I think in terms of uh
Okay, the
yeah,
goal which you're talking about was Chloe Kelly's. Like, she had a second opportunity, and I think that was the time where you
yes,
mentioned
yeah, 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 yeah. But I mean the Chloe, yeah, Chloe's uh
Chloe's
the goal
goal
from the
was just
corner, yeah,
insane. Yeah,
yeah. No, in the sense it was messy. I think it was the keeper's fault for that.
absolutely. I
There's
I feel I feel bad because she usually is like such a good keeper, and she's had a really good tournament. I feel like she didn't have a good
We
game,
said that for the Swedish
which
goalkeeper as well, and look what happened there. But it just so happens against England that yeah, it just turns the tide there. But yeah, I felt Chloe's first shot was so tame, came out. I don't know whether she didn't expect it because it rebounded off her and then she tapped it in. But I felt yeah, that should have been caught there, or after the rebound, jump and pounce on it, because if you
Yeah,
kick the
yeah.
goalkeeper, then it's a direct foul. So just try and get as many hands as possible on that ball, then push it away. I think that could have been avoided, and then we would have definitely taken it to penalties, and that's where the fun would have really began. But
Really started,
um,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, apart from that, I think I also love the way that Jill Scott just keeps getting up and start. She said like "f off" and all that to the,
No,
and it was
she
crazy. I mean, she,
specifically said, "You effing prick."
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah.
oh, and the funniest part about it was that she was doing it to Sydney Lohman, and to everyone who watches the Bundesliga knows like what kind of a little baby Sydney Lohman is, and for her to like for Jill Scott to say that to Sydney Lohman was just hilarious, like really. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my god, Jill Scott, that said she's like what? She's hardly in her 20s.
Yeah, those girls like the way she was just running around, like I was watching Peter Crouch in with a wig on, uh, and it was, yeah. I actually found her on Wikipedia. She's actually, there have been comparisons with her and Peter Crouch, and she's called Crouchy or whatever. But it was crazy. Um,
No,
and
but
yeah,
I do
it,
have to mention that the second Jill Scott came on, I think she changed the pace of the game quite a
yeah,
bit.
yeah,
She
she did.
brought in a lot of energy that obviously the English were lacking, and I feel like she obviously has that physicality, which is again what that you needed within the midfield, especially with Oberdorf playing, and even though Magul went off, they brought in Linda Dahlman, who's again another player who's like her height might be like she's not tall, she's 5'2", but she's a very a player who I would say is just her level of skill is just absolutely insane. So again,
Yeah,
she's another player who's kind of physical. So obviously you have that battle going on in the midfield, and I feel like with Stanway off, you
mhm,
needed obviously Stanway is one of the players who's physical, known to be physical and everything.
yeah,
So when you take someone like Stanway off, you obviously needed someone like Jill Scott on, because otherwise, I think Germany would have won the battle of the midfield then,
it
had
was,
it
yeah.
been someone else.
Yeah, she brought that physical presence as well as like a lot of stability over there, because
Yep.
at that point you then needed to control the game and make sure that Germany didn't get chances, which I think they had a few, but then not enough to.
Yeah, and another thing is that Jill Scott's really experienced. She has that leadership quality on the pitch, as well. So, she was very commanding in that position, and at the
Yeah,
same time,
yeah,
her skills, just overall presence in midfield helped, the entire game to just stabilize quite a bit, and then, just move on ahead with everything.
yeah. And I absolutely loved the shithousery at the end of the game where they were right at that corner, and I don't know who over there. I think it was
Chloe Kelly, bronze,
Ru- yeah. I think it was
Russo, I think
Jill
Russo
there.
was there.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. Russo was
Yeah.
there. Yeah, and it was just hilarious. And Germany were
My
digging themselves
dad,
further. And
Svenja Hoot got so like annoyed and irritated, like you could see that.
yeah,
and my dad, like in context to whatever I had texted you,
yeah.
my dad constantly kept going on with it into depth. And let me just tell you, like I don't know, like if I've mentioned this before. Fun fact: my grandfather was a freedom fighter, okay, and in jail
Oh,
because of the British.
yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I can
also.
understand his sentiments. Yeah, I can
I'm
understand his
telling you,
sentiments. Yeah.
yeah, and post the like after the game got done as well, we were watching the trophy ceremony and everything. My dad was like, "Yeah, whatever, whatever," and he was just like, "Another thing gone."
Yeah. Another one for the British museums to keep. Um, yeah, it's insane. I like the fact that she was getting upset at the referees. She was upset with everybody, and then I was just thinking, like, come on, if the score lines were reversed, you'd be doing similar thing. I think uh, Serena was actually telling them not to do that, and she was on the sideline saying, "Cut out the bullshit." But come on, you're seconds and minutes away from winning, Europe's most prestigious trophy in women's football, and you're not going to take that chance and give the ball away at any point. And yeah, it
Yeah, I
was.
mean, obviously, I understand where this whole thing is coming from, because this exactly reminds me of the not so nice UWCL final that Barcelona had against Leon, where this shithousery continued, and it was absolute, like, I remember Alexia being so mad at that game, where the medics were coming in, and she just picked up the bag and she took it off the pitch and she kept it, and she was like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
get on, get done with it, like, get out of the pitch right now." It was hilarious, yeah.
yeah,
The
it's a thing of
Yeah,
beauty.
but overall, like, I feel like it was such a fun game to
Yeah,
watch,
it
and it
was
was
crazy.
worthy of being called a final for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know people say finals need to have like a lot of goals, a lot of excitement, last minute stuff. This obviously had the last minute goal. It had, equalizer, all of that, and the first half was chaotic as it is. I really felt that time went on quite fast, as in time. Yeah,
Yeah,
time
it
went
it
quite fast. I didn't,
passed.
only a few bits, I think, in the second half towards the end where things were a little slow. I did put out a tweet saying, people looked a little tired. I think it was extra time, first half of extra time, where
Yeah,
people felt a little tired, and fine, that I expected in a game like this. So you are bound to have that period of dull and, sort of uh,
yeah,
quiet and
obviously, because
silence. Yeah.
they were extremely exhausted, and you could see that,
Yeah.
uh because in the pace of the game, like, immediately changed in the extra time of first half. But then again, I've always been calling England the second half FC, and they proved me right again with the second
Yeah.
half of regular time, and then they proved me again when they
Yeah.
scored that late goal in the second half of extra time. Second half
Yeah,
FC.
uh, definitely. All right, so let's quit. Now I'm going to share my screen because we got to give the awards out now, as we did in our previous roundups. So let's start off with the best player in the of the game. Of course, it was given to Kira Walsh, and I mean, if you want to go with
I'm
that,
not
then
taking
fair
that.
enough.
I'm not even taking that away, because I feel like she's someone who's been so consistent throughout this entire tournament, silently doing her job without people
Yeah,
actually even
yeah,
talking about her as much. But if you consider from an England perspective, if you take her off the pitch, the stability within the midfield just goes off, and the team would be completely different had she not been there. So I feel like
exactly.
definitely it has to be Kiara Walsh.
Fair enough. I'm gonna add that there. I also would like to give out a shout out to Mary Ups for
Oh,
just being impenetrable or whatever. Yeah,
she's a
it
wall.
was, yeah, a complete
Better
wall.
word.
I don't think. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I just couldn't find. I I don't know. Maybe people have now started this what if scenarios, like what if Pop had been there, and people are saying no. I mean, Mary Ups was in God mode. uh, she was playing God as a Woman. I don't know whose song that is. Someone who listens to pop
Ariana
music or rap
Grande.
music. Yeah, yeah. Okay, great. So she was listening to that, and she got inspired by that because she was in God or beast mode. She was stopping anything coming away except for the goal, obviously, which was too difficult. I mean, if she had stopped that, then Germany might as well have packed up and said, sayonara. I'm not playing this anymore. This is some cheat code. But yeah, I think she definitely kept England in the game when Germany were at their peak, or when they were the most attacking or most threatening.
I feel like this also sort of makes you think that Marriott's went, like, people would say that Marriott's overnight went from being such a good, like, a keeper for the club United, and then just
Yeah,
going on to becoming the first keeper of the national team. But I feel like this was obviously a progress. It was a progression, but at the same time, she's always been good enough, where she could have if not been the first keeper, but she could have. She was always someone who should have been on the team, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I
And
mean, I haven't watched Manchester United football, women's football. So I you I mean, forgive me. I don't know. I've not seen her as much. I've seen the big games when they play Chelsea or they play Arsenal and all that, but not enough for me to kind of notice
yeah, but
her as much or
obviously,
pay attention.
she's put herself in a position where she's just excelled and improved way beyond anyone's imagination. But I feel like at the same, obviously, England has a lot of goalkeeping talent, because you have someone like Hannah Hampton, you have someone like Ellie Roebuck, who used to be the
Yeah.
first keeper up until Sarina came in, and obviously Roebuck got injured. But then at the same time, you have someone like Sandy McKeever, you have Sophie Bagley, if I'm not wrong, she's also an English keeper. There's a lot of, I might be wrong. Sophie Bagley might not be it, but irrespective, I feel like there's a lot of goalkeeping talent that England does have, and obviously you had Karen Bardsley in the beginning, you had Carly Telford, but I feel like obviously some of the players were like dragged so much to the point where then there could have been opportunities for the younger players that has only just started coming in for them. But to think that Mary Earps was once upon a time not even on the team is just absolutely insane. But obviously
Yeah.
props to her, because she's continued to be determined, and she's just definitely improved herself so much. And yeah, she's just,
So
I think, knocked it off
so
the
there's a
park.
quote. So there's a quote by Jurgen Klopp when he first arrived to Liverpool, and I think that perfectly fits into what the sentiments are or were for Mary Earps, which is when he first came into Liverpool, he was asked, what are you going to do or something, and he said, uh, I want to change doubters to believers. So it's similar here, where people doubted her inclusion into the squad, doubted her being number one, and then she's sort of now brought in this belief that you know
Hmm. I
she's
feel
put
like
in
that's
some
also
crazy performances.
something. I feel like that's also something that you know sort of goes along for Beth Mead as well. Because she was not picked up for the Olympics, and to
Olympics.
then
Yeah.
she had a really good season, like for Arsenal. Some of her numbers have been really nice. But then she went on and did incredible, like she did so well this entire
This
tournament, I
tournament.
feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's from a player's perspective, yeah, she's absolutely nailed it. She's proven everyone who has doubted her, hated on her, and all of that stuff. She's definitely proven them all wrong. She even proves Hagarisa wrong now, given by the fact that obviously she was not picked up for the Olympics, which was, I don't know, like in what world that happened. But I think it kind of allowed her to just go on and develop herself into something like this, which is absolutely incredible.
All right. So the best moment from the game, what would it be?
I think that okay, there are two actually, and none of these are the goals or anything. I think both of these moments are the shithousery moments. One is definitely the Jill Scott moment, and the second one is Russo reading the the
Yeah.
note.
Yeah, I think the Russo reading was definitely going to be my wild card. I thought we weren't. In case we hadn't mentioned it earlier, I would have definitely mentioned it now. But wild card. But yeah, I would add that best moment. Probably the Tooney goal was insane. I think again
I
the
think,
pass
okay,
and the
what
goal.
could be the best moment would be, I think it would be, Chloe Kelly's celebration. I think
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
that's
I'll put that
that's the
there.
best moment for me.
Okay, yeah. Um. All right.
You know,
So and then of course
interesting
wild card.
enough,
Have we missed out on anything?
mm, have we? I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
I think we covered
Yeah, I
most of
think
it.
yeah. Okay, great.
This
Yeah,
game
you were
was
going.
just
You were
so
saying something.
chaotic. I was saying, like, interestingly enough, Brandy Chastain ended up
Hmm. See.
tweeting about Chloe
Yep.
Kelly as well, which was really nice in my opinion, because obviously legend recognizing something like this was really nice to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was nice. I As soon as that, I think everyone, uh, Google searched her name, and I was like, and then the first tweet,
It's
you could see
icon,
the
like
tweet as well. I
obviously,
think it's
yeah,
yeah.
it's iconic because obviously the 1999 World Cup, obviously it's huge in terms of women's football history. And so to have someone like her again interact with what is happening right now, obviously, one of the pioneers, it's really incredible to even see
Yeah.
that happening.
Right. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is, I thought I was gonna end it here, but I've actually just realized that. Let me try and find that thing. So obviously the UEFA Women's Euros come out with their team, their best 11 of the tournament. So I just want to get I'm pretty sure they'd come out with it. Where am I? Thought they
Yeah,
had
they did.
team of the. Yeah, they did. They did. Okay, here we go. All right, let me see if I can copy this and then I can paste it on, uh, and share it on the screen here. It's not the one. Okay, great. Can I copy image? And I'm just going to add a new one here as well. So, see. See. All right. Hopefully that should be okay. And of course, you can tell me what you make of it, whether you agree with it. I can Let's just make this big, and I can move it, uh, as and when. All right. So let's start with the goalkeeper. So they've been it to Mary Ups.
I
As well as she's done, I would
Yeah,
disagree. I would put,
I would disagree
um
as well. I would put Van Domslar at that spot.
yeah, that's her name. I'm glad you said it before I butchered her name, but fair enough.
No, I feel like
All right.
there's a reason why I would even say Van Domslar, because uh, you know to sort of have a player like her with just two caps, uh, two national team caps in her name, and to come into the game, especially when Sari Van Veenendaal, who's like the first keeper, just go out injured, and then to be thrusted into a game where you're playing against Sweden, one of the uh, bigger teams. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it's very easy in terms of uh, performance, but she pulled off a great performance against Sweden. And at the same time, she consistently performed so well throughout the entire tournament that I absolutely feel like she deserves it. Like, as much as Mary Earps has done well, and I say this with utmost respect, that she's done incredibly well, but I feel like Van Domsela deserved it a little more.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's go on to the defense, and we've got the four defenders. But Quinn, okay, Leah Williamson, Hegering, and Karchawi. Sakina
Yeah, Karshavi.
Karchawi, I think
Yeah.
it's Karchawi. Yeah. So, any changes to this?
Hmm. I agree with Gwen. I think she was fabulous. There is, someone at right back. I think the only person who I could think of, maybe other than Gwen, is maybe Ona Bate. But
Hmm.
Gwen has just absolutely done so well. So I would, obviously outnumbers, what Bate has done. So, but definitely Gwen. I think in as for CB, I would say maybe Millie Bright could have been there. I feel
I have
like,
a feeling they've added Leia as captain, but I think on pure performance, I think Millie's probably been
yeah. I
just more
mean,
solid.
I understand that, given the fact that obviously in terms of possession, Leah has kept better possession than Bright. uh,
Mm.
within games, but I still feel that Millie Bright ended up doing a little better in comparison. So I would probably give it to Millie Bright, even though she's a Chelsea player and Leah is an Arsenal player.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that purely
Yeah.
out of
Okay.
performance.
Fair enough. All the Chelsea fans are celebrating when I can hear them. All right. Okay. So Hegering and Korchawi are fine then, right?
Yeah,
They.
Hegering and
Okay.
Kasha. I
Hegering
think,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely Hegering has been solid. Kashawi on the left, right? Yeah, I think Kashawi is good. Kasha is good.
All right. Great. So we now move on to the midfield, and we got Kira Walsh, Lena Obadov, and Aitana Bonmati. And
I don't want to
would you
touch this
change? I
midfield.
I wouldn't actually. Yeah, I was just thinking. I mean, Kira Walsh, absolutely insane tournament. Lena Obadov, brilliant. Aitana,
Brilliant,
I haven't
absolutely.
watched as many Spain, but I know her as like
No,
Barcelona player.
she
But
is
yeah,
so I'll tell you something about Aitana. She is so, her vision in terms of
Mhm.
the games that she plays, and the I don't know, like her positioning, and just the general thought process that she has while she plays is just really incredible. So to have uh she was also someone in the midfield who was so silent, you know at many instances, but she was just doing her job, like she was threatening under many circumstances and everything. So I feel like for the most part, I would give her. But who I also, I mean, maybe it could have
Okay,
been a 4-4-2 if we were
okay,
doing it that way. But I feel like maybe a massive shout out to Aslani, because Aslani
yeah,
was fabulous throughout this entire tournament. So as much as I don't want to touch this midfield, because it's like holy trinity for me, other than Alexia, Aitana, and Patri, I feel like I also want to give a shout out to Aslani, because Aslani's performance has been great, considering the fact that she's been injured uh, quite a lot during her time with Real Madrid, which is obviously another controversy of its own. But yeah, I feel like I have to give a shout out to Aslani. She's done really well throughout.
fair enough. Wouldn't put it past, but yeah, I from personally, like you said, wouldn't touch those three. I think those three
Wouldn't
deserve it.
touch.
Yeah. Now we move on to the forwards, and we've got Beth Mead, Alexandra Pop, and Clara Buell.
Um, See, I don't want to touch this again, because I absolutely loved watching Bull this entire tournament. Clara Buell has been so good. She's young, okay? She's very young with a bright future ahead of her. She's just absolutely performed her heart out this entire tournament. I feel, again, she's been unlucky based on the fact that she got COVID, and then obviously she was not able to play the semi-final. Then she wasn't able to play the final
Yeah.
either. Um, Bull has just been incredible. Again, Alexander Pop. It's so funny that this is Pop's first ever Euros. So for her to perform, the way she has, it's incredible. And yeah, Beth is Beth. Again, I just,
I mean, player of the tournament, wasn't she? Oh no, she got
yeah.
Golden Boot. Was she player of the
No, she
tournament
got
as
both.
well?
She got both.
Yeah, she got both. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to add another, and I know that becomes 13 players and not 11, but if I could, I want to give a shout out to Diani, because
Okay. Yeah.
Diani's pace is so threatening that we don't necessarily talk much about Diani, but she is sh I don't know, she's very skillful, and her pace, she's so fast. She gets behind you know uh, defenders so quickly. It's just absolutely insane. So yeah, uh, I have to give Diani a shout out. But overall, I feel like they've done a pretty good job in terms of selecting, other than Van Domselar and probably Millie Bright. They've got pretty much spot on, I feel.
Fair enough. Okay, I'm just trying to add the names here. Let me see if I can. Happening. I don't know what's happening there. All right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, normally when it comes to team of the tournaments and stuff like that, these guys get it sometimes quite wrong. Like, uh, it is how do you? I'm just gonna write it here. Kosovo. Is that right? Kosovar. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. As
AS
Siani.
Dablani.
Double. Yeah. And who did we? Oh yeah, Diane for that. Right. Okay. Great. Chance to pop. Okay. Well, how do you now spell her? Um.
Carrie
How would you
Diani.
spell her name? Yeah.
Diani.
Diani. Okay. Diani. There we go. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. This is going to. I'm going to have fun writing this. KAD. No, not DAD. KATID. Yeah. Okay, great. Awesome. So as you can see, that is our team of the tournament, which is not too different from the team of the tournament that was officially announced. And that's nice to know. But and even if we didn't have these, the ones chosen a close runners. It was none of them were actually miles away from who we actually had this. So kudos to UEFA and the team that they actually watched the tournament and finally gave a worthy playing 11.
That's
All
true.
right, so yeah, so now that it's done, what's the future now hold? Because we've seen some really interesting stuff. We've seen there is a demand for women's football. I saw Leah's interview post that, and she said now we need to see this for WSL. We need crowds like this for other stuff. Alex Scott saying that now we need to play in bigger stadiums. We need to see the women's team play in better stadiums, bigger stadiums where they have bigger crowds. What do you think will be at least the short term solution now after seeing all of this? Any, if anything.
I I feel like everyone who's, per se gotten interested in women's football, especially after watching the tournament, or maybe during the tournament, whatever it is, I feel like the next step for them would be, to continue their interest and just go watch the games, like go buy season tickets of your local club. Like I'm not even just saying the WSL teams. I'm saying, the championship teams, local grassroots, really. So we need a steady interest to grow, not just in the top tier teams, but also in, lower grassroots teams as well. Because at the end of the day, this is something that I've obviously noticed in my time that I have, researched and watched, is that people tend to get interested and then shortly after, they forget about it. So if this has piqued your interest, then, don't let it just run away, just because there was no other football to watch right now, and maybe that's the reason why, you were watching right now. Don't forget about it, because if you found this interesting throughout the entire season, we have this going on, like, this cycle doesn't stop. So, we have just as interesting games, just as feisty matchups between players, and
Encounters and
you know
duels and yeah.
yeah, all of it, so the most simplest thing that you can actually do is just go and support your local club, go and support your local women's club, like women's team, basically. Clubs obviously do have that. Go and buy season tickets, and they're not that expensive, pretty,
Yeah,
based on,
yeah,
like
it's
can you imagine? I think it's some clubs have it for like 40 quid for the entire season. Some of them have it for
Yeah.
70, and I feel like that's insane. 70 quid for the
Yeah.
entire year.
That's like a ticket
Like,
to watch Arsenal, man, or something.
yeah, exactly. So if
Yeah.
you can do that for the entire season, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely. So
Yeah, and
I feel like
for even for us, like for international fans, we support the men's team. Just support the women's team of the same club. Like it's not that difficult to kind of
exactly,
have to. I'm not going to go searching for another team, or do I have to find some other. You've got your team. Like all of the top six sides in English football have a women's team. Even in La Liga, you've got the top three who have women's team. Real Madrid, Barcelona, I think Atletico also have. So you've got
yeah.
women's team there. You want to do
You have
PSG's women. Lyon have. Germany, you've got the full Frauen Bundesliga. So you've got
exactly.
Bayern Munich and all of them. So, and they're all good teams. It's not like they're, you know,
Exactly my point. So
so
it's more like, you know every time we've seen short term bursts of interest,
yeah,
and then later on it just fizzes out. I feel like that is where we need to really focus in, because I was talking to a friend earlier today, and we were talking about the situation in Germany, really, where yesterday they were celebrating and today they are back to square one, where nobody is talking about the league anymore, because obviously it's inaccessible and not as easily available for people to watch, and which is pretty much a big problem in Spain as well, because I mean, their
yeah,
whole federation is kind
yeah,
of so annoying. Like, don't even get me started on them.
yeah, yeah.
You know exactly who I'm talking about
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
I
Yeah,
know everything about the French Spanish Federation. I don't want to get into
yeah,
that. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's not only that. Yeah, I think the English, uh, the league is much easier. You want to even watch them in the Champions League, get at least watch that because that's again easier. Might be a little difficult to find illegal streams and all of those third party streams to watch the
It's
other
become
teams. So that might be a
easier
little
now as
difficult.
well. Yeah, to be honest, Freddy, I think it's become easier now, because if you go to see, especially for the English league, it's very accessible. Even the
Oh,
championship is accessible, because
so much.
they are
Yeah, yeah,
showing it on the FA player, and the FA
and it's
player is
free.
basically free. It's
Yeah,
free for everyone
yeah,
to just sit and watch the game. So just
exactly.
get on and watch. And Dazan has been doing great with the Champions League, which was
Yeah,
again something
yeah,
previously which was not accessible. Or obviously they have a different plan. It's not always going to be free, but obviously with interest peaking,
yeah.
eventually people are going to be willing to pay for it
And it's not only us. I mean, this should also a burst like this is something that the federations and the different
massively
associations associations need to take into
into
account
consideration.
because into
They need
consider
to
because yeah,
start investing, because like you said, like Alex Scott mentioned, we need to start playing in bigger stadiums, obviously. Like, if you talk from a perspective of what happened at the Euros, obviously the stadiums were selected back in 2017, and obviously given at that time, the interest levels were a lot different, and obviously according to that times thoughts in mind, obviously a Manchester City Academy Stadium was fine with maybe 7,000, 8,000 capacity. That was fine. But then when you are talking about it right now, that is you know it's just not a major international tournament level stadium anymore, you know
yeah,
so I feel like now is the time where clubs, especially, because if I'm not wrong, I think the spokesperson or the chairman, someone from the English FA, ended up, when asked about the stadiums, they mentioned that we had to, go on to convince clubs to give away their stadiums, because no, many of them were not ready to give it up, and there was, I don't know if you know about this. I'm probably sure that you must be, because obviously the Community Shield was played between City and Liverpool, but a lot of the supporters were angry, and I have seen this, okay, and I don't usually come across, I don't go on to the men's football Twitter section quite a bit, but the fact that it showed up on my timeline as well, where they were outraged about the fact that the finals of Euros was being played at Wembley, whereas the Community Shield is a more important game and shouldn't be played at King
How?
Power.
How? It's a charity match. It's a charity match. That's exactly why it used to be called the Charity Shield. How is the Community Shield a much more important? Oh my god! I wonder who those idiots
Yeah,
were. I mean, even if it
yes,
is Liverpool fan, I don't mind calling them out. It was just stupidity.
I saw that, and there was literally, like, I remember very
Even the
clearly there
FA
being a
Cup isn't
poll and
as
everything.
prestigious as the Euros. Even the FA
There,
Cup, as steeped as it is in British history, will not take precedence over this Euro final. Okay, it's not gonna happen. So,
it was hilarious because
okay,
this person ended up putting polls, okay, like tweeted out polls,
yeah.
and polls, people were literally voting on those polls, saying that the women's Euros is more important, and still that
Oh,
person,
glad. I'm
whoever it
glad
was,
that yeah.
that person was literally
Not
like,
voted that the finals was more important. I mean, God help if they had said the opposite, because it's a charity match, man. Come on. It's not the World Cup. The World Cup takes precedence over everything. Then probably your international tournaments that happen from regions, so Euros, CONMEBOL, all of that. Then you have the
exactly.
Champions League and all of that. Yeah, so no way. And then last, even below any sort of match is a charity cup match. It's not even a. It's a
It's
glorified friendly.
pre-season, dude. It's
It is. It
pre-season,
is.
literally.
It's a glorified friendly that you get a cup, you get a plate or whatever. So yeah, it's just stupidity. But I just hope that the federations, the fans capitalize on such a success, and it is a success. So you don't get
Yeah.
87,000 fans there and call it a failure. So um, no, it was great, and thank you, Unati, for being part of the coverage of the podcast throughout the tournament. It's a pleasure having you on here, Atanu, Natalie, Yashodan, and Radha. I'm glad that we could cover the tournament as best we could. It was really fun chatting with all of you, getting your thoughts, and yeah, I can't wait to do that. Now we shift our focus to club football levels. So thank you for that, and yeah, hope to see you all soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I think, obviously, since I wasn't there, I was here.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Obviously, having a chat with you guys kind of eased up a little bit on that pain that I was feeling of not being able to
I
go.
hope we could have, yeah, alleviated some pain and
Yeah,
made
I
you
mean,
forget for
yeah,
just that
it's
1 hour that you should have been in England.
yeah, but obviously going to be angry at the government for not getting me my passport in time, but irrespective,
What
I
all did they
think
rob now? Yeah,
everything.
everything. Yeah,
uh but yeah, at the end of the day, I think it wasn't so bad watching it from home, experiencing all of it. I think it was obviously a different experience because I feel like just being able to sit and watch with my dad was just really special. So
oh,
you
that's
know
nice. Yeah, that's
yeah,
nice to hear.
I watched
Yeah,
most of the games with my dad, so I think that was absolutely incredible.
awesome. Yeah, that sounds really good and really nice. All right, so thank you to those of you who've been listening and watching us throughout the tournament. That's about it for whichever episode this is, and that's about it for our coverage of the UEFA Women's Euro 2022 tournament. I hope you all enjoyed it. Do check out our preview. Do check out our group stage roundup, our quarterfinals roundup, and our semifinal roundup, and as well as this. And do follow us on all of our social media platforms. That's like Twitter, Instagram. Uh, you can check out our podcast wherever you get podcasts from. And yeah, check follow us on YouTube as well. And let us know what your thoughts were on the final in the comment section down below. And I'll catch you all soon. Of course, there will be a few announcements in a couple of days, but apart from that, I guess I'll catch you all once regular football begins, which I guess is next week. I'm your host, Praddy, once again. You stay safe and see you.